so I can turn
Yeah,
them
we are
motherfucking
now.
music off. Well, shit. Man, you know what, though? Like, funk music is the best. If you think about, like, the guitars and stuff, the horns. Porque tú sabes banda, ¿verdad? And it's like
Yeah,
80, it's like 86 motherfuckers in one band. When it's
yeah,
banda. Like, for real. It's like the whole
yeah,
pueblo. Cada tío, sobrino, hermano, todo.
yep.
And they got everything. We gonna find a job for you. Like, but I don't play no instrument. Well, shit, get that can, put some rocks in it, and get over there and shit it. And you're getting the soup, baby. You know. So I was like, funk the same thing. It's
Yeah,
banda.
yeah. I guess, yeah,
It's different culture. I
yeah.
mean, listen to the trumpet riff in this. Can you hear it?
No, I can't. I can't hear shit, anyways, right now. But hey, thanks everybody for being here. Let's see, who do we have in here? Yeah, Jay's in here. Hey, Craig. Good morning.
All right, all right. My bad. Hey, I don't want to get
I-
copyrighted. We did
I
that
was
shit
te-
right.
I was telling Steve that I don't know how big of a crowd we're going to have today, since today is the first day of Aquashella. But we'll see. We got Tommy here. I thought Tommy was supposed to be in Dallas. I could have sworn he
Yo,
said he was going.
Well, I mean, cell phones is mobile, and so is
Yeah.
YouTube.
That's true.
Craig in here.
The last two times I've been mobile, so yeah, you're absolutely right.
Right. Nano J up in here too.
Yep.
How y'all doing this fine morning?
Yeah, you know what? A little bit of apologies, because I know the last two episodes we haven't really put out the the reminder until like the same day. It's just been a little bit hectic for me, and Steve been real busy with his own personal stuff.
Yeah, boy.
So,
There's stuff going on.
so it's just kind of one of those. As much as I hate to say it, yeah, it has been kind of the last minute. What are we doing? Let's kind of throw this together, kind of string. Not like what we've done in the past, where we have a structured thing. This one is a little bit my fault, though. I know after my stream from being in vacations, we did have something planned out, but it never fails, I guess, when you go out and have a good time, and then you get home. And after, how long has this stupid thing been going on now? For 2 years, I've been able to avoid it, and it wasn't until Monday of last week I got hit with it. And so, Sharona finally got a hold of me.
Yeah, you got to eat some turmeric.
I don't know. I've been drinking all kinds of stuff and, home remedies. They gave me, it was so interesting. I don't know how much of this stuff you really matters or anything like that, but I know and we've had this conversation. I'm a big time follower of the JRE, the Joe Rogan Experience, and for the longest he's been preaching, to take supplements, vitamins, take care of yourself, and he's always had this like precursor, what do you call it, a prophylactic cocktail of supplements, natural supplements that you should be taking. And it's crazy because he's gotten a lot of flack for that, because he's gone against what the propaganda says, that get vaccinated, get all this other stuff, fall in line, do what we say, don't do anything else.
Right.
And it's so interesting because as time has progressed, the way they've treated this situation has kind of changed. Well, when I got my prescription, guess what I got? Vitamin D3.
Yep.
I got zinc.
You got zinc?
Yeah.
Did you get vitamin C as well?
Vitamin D as well.
¿Y qué te dije? Que búscalo para de redodoxin. Put it in there. And
sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you're good, man.
And but of course they had to give you the big pharma, right? And so I got that medication. I was fine with the other stuff because it's stuff that I've been taking since.
Hell, the big pharma won't be jacking you up.
Well, and I was telling my wife that. I said, you know what? I don't know. I quit taking the medication they gave me because here's the thing. What I got really doesn't feel any worse than a regular flu, I'm going to say. You got the same symptoms, sore throat, um, the runny nose, cough, no different than any other cold that I've ever experienced.
Right.
A little bit of throat irritation, what's normal when, you're going under that shit. But I'll tell you what, the minute I took that prescription that they gave me,
Mm-hmm.
that sore throat that I had intensified almost immediately. And I was thinking, okay, well, maybe it's the onset. I caught it right at that point. They gave me the medication. And it seemed like it was supposed to take 2 doses per day. I took the first one that I was supposed to. Took the one at night, and it just made it worse as far as my throat. That was the only symptom that was bothering me. And it got to the point where I almost couldn't even swallow. And I started looking for the side effects. And, it said you could get some irritation, but it really didn't talk about that. The only thing I can think of is that I was maybe having an allergic reaction to it. I ended up taking 2 more of the doses, and then I said, you know what, forget it. Because it just progressively got worse. The more I took that medication, the worse it got. And it wasn't the other symptoms. It was just my throat.
So once you stopped taking that, did it?
Once I stopped taking that, it just progressively got better and better and better. So the hell with that shit. I ain't taking none of that shit.
I'm thinking the best way I can do it for the smart people is I'm thinking baking soda and vinegar. Okay.
Well, I started doing all this other stuff, but that was after the fact. I really do think I must have had some type of. Dude, I'm telling you, I told my wife this shit tastes like
that's what
poison.
I'm talking about.
It tastes.
Baking soda and vinegar. Okay.
Horrible.
You were sick, right?
Yeah.
So let's say that the sickness was the baking soda.
Uh-huh.
And you would have been fine with the baking soda, just fine. And you put the vinegar in there, which was that medicine, and it exacerbated a reaction. It was a catalyst for a reaction, So what I'm saying is, I know baking soda, you can cook with baking soda and you can cook with vinegar, right?
Yeah.
And I also know, because I was taught, that if you mix them together and shake them up, you can get a violent reaction.
Yeah.
You're not a scientist. I'm not a scientist.
Yeah, but you know what? It was.
Them people know.
It was funny because the overall symptoms were not bad. I mean, it was no different than having any other cold where you could just write it out because you know what's going to happen.
Right.
But I was trying to be the get along, play along. But I said, fuck that shit. I just got quit. I was like, nope, it's not that bad. It got to the point where I couldn't even speak for a couple of days because it was just so bad. But it just progressively got better and better, and never needed it. I continued to take exactly those, the zinc, the vitamin D, and then I had still some of my other prophylactic stuff that I was taking. Took that instead. A couple of Advils for the pain, because one thing that I did notice is that I had that constant headache.
Mm-hmm.
And then just the irritation from the throat. But I really think that was the medication itself.
Did you have abdominal cramps or back pain?
No, I didn't have any of that stuff. I didn't have any of the other symptoms.
Okay.
What ended up happening is we got back Friday of last week. And then Saturday night, we sat outside of the porch, my wife and I, and we had some wine, just kind of unwinding because I knew Tuesday I was going back to work.
Mm-hmm.
So we were just kind of enjoying the evening. It was a really nice evening out here in Arizona. And I noticed that I had a little bit of a sensation in the back of the throat. I thought no big deal. Maybe what I thought was, again, where we were staying at, it was temperate climate. All we ran was a fan at night just to cool off.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful weather. You get here and the AC's on, so I thought I associated that it was something, just to change that drastic change.
Environmental change, and your body was reacting to it.
And I didn't think anything of it. got up Sunday morning. Still a little bit of throat irritation. Assumed it was the AC, whatever. No big deal. I mean, I didn't have anything other than that. I didn't have no runny nose, no temperature, nothing. It was just a little bit of a sore throat. Medication symptoms instead of treating the cause, maybe since they wanted people. Yeah. I think Coro's onto a little bit of that.
Well, and let me say something, y'all. I use vinegar and baking soda as a metaphor. So,
yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm from the 80s. I'm sorry. I'm a Generation X, so we don't need to be spoon-fed every damn thing. We know how to use context clues. Sorry, not sorry.
And so Sunday night, when I went to bed, that's when I got the fever, and that's when I knew this is not. It's
not
no, because I had I had a temperature and I was freezing, and I said, damn it. So sure enough, I slept through the night, got up in the morning, I had a home kit, took it, and came back.
It popped
positive.
See?
So that Monday morning, I called work, said, look, what's the protocol? Because I know things have changed.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, you need to go get a clinic confirmation. Went and got that. And that's when, they gave me all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was it. But it really, other than just being a pain in the ass, because that's all really, it's just for me, it's been no different than just having a seasonal flu. And having to deal with it. Other than if I had not even taken that medication they gave me, I probably my throat problems wouldn't have never have gotten as severe as they did.
Exactly.
And I would have just written it out, and that's it.
You said you got inoculated, didn't you? Or I mean, who to ask that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we did the first round, and then I said, no, I'm not doing the second.
Okay,
round.
see, so you. According to the theory of how this whole phenomenon works, you should be straight based on the science.
And it hasn't been, you know what? I've had flus where they've really laid you up, where you just, spend 2 or 3 days in bed and just can't do shit. This has been more of an annoyance.
Crazy. That part, the annoyance part, bro. I got sick of shit last year. And I thought I wasn't gonna make it, but I was like,
I'm gonna tell you what. Maybe about 3 years ago, my wife and I was fucking. This was when I was still living down in Mexico. There was I always thought it was avian flu because it all kind of coincided. Because there was this big old bird nest that fell off of a tree, and I went to go scoop it up. And a lot of that powder that was in there just kind of I bred it in. And within 2 days of doing that, my wife and I both got severely sick. I mean, that's the worst. That's the worst we've ever been. Both of us. We were both laid up in bed for a week, entire week. We couldn't do shit. Ooh, and it was just me and her. And but this is 3 years ago. We ended up having to go to the doctor just because this shit was not going away, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. They just said it's some sort of a flu, and that was it. They just gave us Tamiflu and the regular shit and rest.
Bro,
and it was about 7 days where we were just laid out. Muscle cramps, couldn't get up. We probably spent 2 days where we didn't even get out of bed. We didn't eat. We didn't do anything because that's how bad it was. That's the worst. That time is the only time I could tell you that I was like, shit, are we going to make it or not? And that was both my wife and I. This time around, it was just that never even crossed my mind. I didn't even feel that bad. Just other than that first night where I had the fever. Excuse me. That was it. And that didn't even worry me. But it's crazy. But no, I'm just surprised that
it's cool because I'm glad I'm a nerd because I kind of got hip to this whole thing when I was a kid. Remember chicken pox back in the day, right? And for y'all that wasn't around when they had the chicken pox, like when they didn't have no vaccine, the chicken pox was the holy grail of stuff to get because depending on how old you was when you got it, you didn't have to go to school. And if you country and got third world and you like me, like Jorge, Abuela, whoever, like they gonna get all the cousins and shit, and y'all all finna get that shit together.
Yeah.
And y'all finna go and get that shit together and be over with it. And it is such an amazing phenomenon. All right. This is beautiful because look how we about to do this into the show. So what these abuelas, y tias, y mamas, so aunties, mamas, aunties, what they were doing was they were practicing viral immunology. And
They
even
figured
though
that we all got it at the same time, they
right,
only dealt with it once.
exactly, even though the science wasn't behind it with all these technical terms, this is ancient knowledge that was passed down from ancestor to ancestor. And so what I'm saying is the human organism, we know, have known about viral immunology. We know about all these concepts. And what's cool, what I said was cool is like, so you take that experience of getting the chicken pox and then you move into adulthood, blah, 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 getting the flu, getting all them vaccines and stuff, etc. I remember I got in the military. They run you through like a cow, like for real, like you're a fucking
Yep.
cow. They
Yep.
run you through it and they use the same guns that we use on livestock and
Yep.
they
Yep.
tap you up. And then at the end, you get the peanut butter right in the ass. Like it's a penicillin shot. It's a bunch of extremely
Who knows what it
potent
is? It's all
antibiotics.
fucking
Yeah, it's
experimental.
America. Shit kill AIDS, damn it. So I mean, seriously, like you could probably run through a brothel naked head and come out take a shot of that. You good, bro. You don't know damn. I ain't
You'll
scared
be
of
glowing in the dark for the first 3 nights.
Full cowboy. I'm damn. But either way, they give you that and you good. So they say, depending on what theater you go to, before you go to the theater, they know they're gonna tell Doc and them, and time appropriately, of course, they start dosing you, depending on what theater they finna send us to. Like if we going to Panama, we getting the jungle concoction, If we going to Syria or Iraq or Kuwait or Bahrain some damn where, we getting the desert recipe, with the garnish of depleted uranium. I'm just bullshitting. But so like every time you go to a theater, you get what's called the gunk, where it don't matter. You're gonna get sick as shit because of the fauna change. It's a different microbial fauna change because you eating different food, drinking different water, etc. So your body got to react to it. We call it the gunk. Now, when I got sick last year, I thought it was the gunk. That's what it felt like. And I don't care what name they give it on the news to sensationalize it. I go off of how my body feels. I go, you know how sick you've been, just like you. That one time you and Liz was sick for a week, that's the sickest you've been. That's your measure. Your measure. Yep. Okay, that's me. I don't give a damn what they call. You call it what you want. I go by how I feel. So I started thinking about all this stuff and the immunology aspect of it and getting chicken pox together and the baking soda vinegar theory, the catalyst. And I really do believe that we can fix ourselves and we have this knowledge and it's just sensationalized. Everything's a novelty because we've gone so far away from it that now it's being sold back to us. And I said I was going to correlate it to the hobby. So go ahead.
No. The only problem nowadays is that everything is money driven. So that's the only where it used to be, let's just call it what it is, pharma. When pharma used to actually, at one point, was trying to solve issues. Now it's all becoming how do they make the most profit? So I don't know.
That's what I'm getting at is I think that we all know it's driven by money, but how do we talk about this to where we can be taken seriously and not look like a bunch of tinfoil hat wearing weirdos? How can I come out and say that based on empirical data available, it can be deduced that modern pharma uses medicine as a contingency to exacerbate illnesses and extend them rather than outright cure them. And we know it's driven by money.
The way you prove that is there's all these investigations that have been published about what they're doing. There's news outlet medias out there that are independent that have looked at this extensively and proven that is the case.
Right.
So, that's where you're able to speak on it because that information exists out there. It's not something that we are conjuring out of thin air. This is all based on information that we've been able to either read or
yeah, boy, it's gonna be
I got that problem too.
Look, I'm trying to tell you, we gonna have a good show. Just hold on.
But I know we've kind of gotten a little bit too far on this subject, but let's actually talk about why we're here.
No, because I said that I did. I said I was going to correlate what we're talking about to the hobby, and I'm going to do it. So, yeah. So it's 122 angel numbers. Hell yeah. So, hey, babe. Hola, mi amor. Mira eso. Tú hiciste eso en propósito.
Hola, Lidia. ¿Cómo estás?
¿Cómo está, mi amor? That's our thing. We do angel numbers. So, like, anytime you see an angel number, like, we're thinking about each other, So I'll be like, hey, love you, or whatever like that. That's what we do. It's the juice. Math is the universal language. Excuse me.
Delivery?
Yeah, I don't know. Hold on. But, yes, I am going to tie it in. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Let me see.
I'll go ahead and take it.
Yeah. I'm going to tie it in.
Welcome everybody that's here. Let's go back. I know I saw Jay was one of the first guys in here. Craig, thanks for being here. Tommy, hey Tommy, are you actually in Naquashella and just kind of listening in from there, or you didn't end up not going this time? Craig, Coral, how you guys doing? Hey Watts, how you doing, man? Let's see, Mark, thanks for being here. Fish family, thanks for dropping in.
My bad. Oh, Dios mío. Okay. Yeah, that was my kiddo getting home from ROTC. They had they had a gig this morning, and they got to go do color.
Buenos días, Lidia. And so he was already getting back. He was done.
Yeah. Shit, I thought
Did you lock him out?
No, he has a key. The flyer, he used to be lazy. The flyer said that it was gonna go down till 4 o'clock. So I must have got done early. Or he got done doing colors and said, I don't want to stay, and left. But like you were saying, talking about the medicine and the contingency, and how do you go, right? And talk about that. And then what you finished up saying where you were talking about the different studies and, the methodologies that have been used historically to prove these type of claims, right? And the same could be said about the hobby in so many ways, okay? To where, how do we, as hobbyists, use this platform? How do we, as hobbyists, basically collectivize and make a voice for ourselves, a concentrated effort, right? To where we can be taken seriously when you have You remember about around 2008, 9, when the reality shows really started kicking ass, man. Bear Grylls, Survivor Man, Tanked, Turtle Man, all that kind of stuff, right? All them shows. And then you have these networks, namely Nat Geo, Animal Planet, were the main two culprits. And they were pushing an agenda. And it was a fear-based agenda. And what they were doing is very irresponsibly preying on the visceral fears and ignorance of people. And what they did was they vilified certain types of snakes, certain types of fish, and every time you turn on the TV, it was reticulated pythons eating somebody's dog. It was rock pythons killing somebody's kid. It was some stoner couple in Colorado, some damn where they done got high and they snaked and got out because it wasn't secured properly and done. You know, unfortunately, injured a toddler or some shit. And they were running this and just boom, 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 right? So the stigma developed that, well, it didn't develop, but it was reinforced that hobbyists are irresponsible and that we irresponsibly contribute to ecological destruction. And we do it by irresponsibly releasing exotic animals into the environment.
Man, you must have been watching some different reality shows because I don't remember
No.
any of those shows.
Yeah, see? Well, I'm sure a lot of the people do, but they were pushing it, bro. Boom, boom. Then you'd have Caesar Milan and goddamn pit bulls, and then Katrina happened.
But
and,
that
like,
was
just,
well. I even on that show, it was mostly
what I'm talking about is how this network has the ability to shape the role that they play, the role that they serve.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is that I can't remember them trying to make any of this stuff look in a negative light. On the contrary, most of the stuff when they were talking about it was educational, and
I encourage you to go back and look.
Yeah, I guess so. Because
I encourage you to go back to
my memory of those shows is totally different. It was
it's poignant with me because I told you I was the president of the Panhandle, the Florida Panhandle Reptile Club, and during this time, the Lacey Act, they were swinging that they were starting with the Lacey Act, okay, and
I guess that's where that
was on the radar.
I think the big commonality is not so much that, but it's the money that certain organizations have at their disposal to try to fulfill whatever their mission.
Well, and that's what I'm getting to is in the vehicles used in doing so. So going back to us being hobbyists, we're on YouTube right now talking about fish and stuff. So when I go, me, and try to talk to people that are in a position to elicit effective, lasting change, how can I do this in a way that I'm taken seriously? In the same way that if I lost a loved one due to some medical negligence because of some certain medicine that they were prescribed by a doctor, maliciously or not. And instead of looking like an emotional zealot who is just, who hurt you type shit, how can I be taken seriously instead of, or we as hobbyists, be taken seriously instead of being labeled as emotional, tinfoil hat wearing, conspiracy theorists, right? So then I'm looking over here and Tommy says this, okay? And last show, if y'all remember when George was in Mexico, we started talking about different conservation organizations, different ways that us as hobbyists can kind of come together and use our voice to elicit effective change so we can save our hobby. And what I was articulating is the fact that a lot of the species, and George brought this up in one of the few conversations we had while he was sick, and he was reiterating something that I had brought up while they was in Mexico. There's a large number of fish that we keep in the hobby that you will not find in the wild. They are extinct in the wild. And if they're not completely or entirely extinct, they're threatened or they're extremely vulnerable. And it's because of human activity and habitat loss. So us hobbyists, who are those discerning hobbyists who like to keep the black water, we like the botanicals, we like deep substrate and anoxic filtration, we like this different element of the hobby. We are that voice. We are that litmus. We are that exponential compounded knowledge, because this thing's been going on for a long time, right? So looking at what Tommy says, and I'm gonna give it to you, George. So Tommy says Silver Creek's like, if I went to Aquashella, they would be as a buyer, and I don't have the extra funds at the moment. So like my whole thing has always been Warrior Planet tanks is I tank gypsy style. That's I tank gypsy style. I tank like nature because it's impartial. I understand that the biggest threat to the hobby is economic stability and living, like people having to move all the time, cats that don't own a home. Okay, like it would be awesome to live somewhere and set up these amazing massive aquariums and put this, but a lot of people can't do it, and it's a turn off to them in the hobby. I came on the scene as far as social media is concerned to kind of live by example, walk the walk, if you will, and show through my work alternatives to show people that you could incorporate the hobby into your life no matter what. Because at the time, I was active duty, military, and a single father. So I was using myself as an example that you don't have to spend money to be in the hobby. So when I see this, like, I don't got the money, I can't go. Even though I understand the dynamics of this in the context of this comment specifically, on a larger scale and less intimately for people we don't know, we could just generalize, this happens all the time. This comment, I'm pointing at the comment. It happens quite frequently. And what things like Aquashella do is they attract the new hobbies. It's good because it does bring people into the hobby who otherwise wouldn't bat an eye at keeping a fish tank. However, when you have people like myself, like Jorge, like Big Hank, people we nerds, man. Like the ditch was my pet store. The people who get thought about when the hobby gets mentioned are gonna be the people at Aquashella on TV, the glitz, the glam, the noobs, the people who can't necessarily go up against somebody in FWC, with their highfalutin degree, talking all their good stuff, and say, dude, you're full of crap. Past this certain parallel, historically and based on empirical data, it has not gotten hotter than said temperature. These fish will not, and I repeat, will not, unless there are exceptional circumstances, become invasive and/or pose any kind of ecological threat. But when you got people arguing about animal husbandry and flexing on the platform, what it does is it takes up the room for more substantial stuff that makes sure we can keep a hobby. Because with what's going on, and this is what we're getting to, and I'm going to let George take it, we almost lost it several times. And I've been saying this. It's our responsibility not only to be stewards of the earth, which is our home, but it's our responsibility to pass this knowledge on and to use it and to make it all encompassing. I like plants, but I apply it to all aspects of my life, which is why I can talk to George and say, hey, boy, get you some honey, get you a lemon, put you some cayenne pepper in there, put you the strongest booze you got, and a little bit of rosemary, and bang that down 3-4 times a day. Because it's holistic, it's all encompassing. But that's where I was going with it. George, what you like, go ahead and put your thing in there, because I know you got it. Take it from there.
Shit, I don't know if this is a stupid thing or whatever, but I was a little lost. But anyways, here's what. Let's go back to the beginning, I guess, and this is going back to that conversation we had kind of alluded to in the last read, and that was that Florida at the time was going through this issue of the Florida Wildlife Conservation, the FWC, was trying to implement a restricted list of the species that could be kept. They were calling it a whitelist, which never historically have they ever put out anything like that. What's always been tried to establish was a blacklist, because it makes it easier for whatever regulatory agency is out there to try to verify animals that are not approved. And even recently, with blacklists, they still make mistakes. And the big thing that was lurking over their head was that whole what is it? They were calling it the Thursday Massacre or whatever, where they went and
they killed that man's reptiles.
Yeah, they even with the limited amount of species that are not allowed, even a mistake was still made, a very expensive mistake at that. So the big argument was, here you have a government agency trying to implement something that is basically unattainable.
Yes.
It's unattainable because, if I remember correctly, there was like 35,000 different species of animals that are considered in the trade hop. And that's including anything from birds, reptiles, and aquatic, animals. And they were saying, this is nuts. You're gonna create such a big problem. Basically, an unenforceable regulation, and not only that, at the same time, you're going to be killing the industry.
Well, yeah, it's unrealistic expectations.
Well, but here's the thing that I took away from all of this, and the why we're even having this conversation. It's not so much whether it was a white list, a black list.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, that doesn't really matter. What really matters is that you do have conservation agencies out there, or not agencies, but organizations who have an unlimited amount of resources to try to achieve their goals. And here's the scary part. These organizations are really going after all animals in captivity. They don't give a rat's ass of what it is.
Exactly.
They just so happen at this moment in time, it was directly affecting this industry. The reptile, the fish, and the bird industry. But here's the thing: it's like that pebble going down, the snow side. It starts out small and it picks up momentum, and the more momentum it picks up, the bigger and bigger it's going to get. You start allowing them to get away with these restrictive lists on certain things. Where's to say where that stops? And like everything. Now, I'm not saying that all conservation organizations are out there are radical extremists, but you do have them out there. They do exist. There's some that are very well thought out of, and they have a real clear mission statement.
Right.
But there's other ones out there that are not going to stop until no animals ever held in captivity.
They're not going to stop until their mission is accomplished, which means they are overzealous and they're not quitting. And as of a couple hours ago, let me add this in there for you. As of a couple hours ago, I found out from one of my industry insiders that no sooner Then they voted down the white list. They pushed new legislation, new rules. They modified the Lacey Act, and it was ready. So that was their counter immediately. The reason I bring that up, the relevance is that's proof they're not gonna stop.
Oh no, this is it was an important victory, and the reason I say that is because when it comes to invasive species, as Florida goes, so does the rest of the country. That's why it was real important to see what was going to happen. Because
Right.
whatever happens in Florida, sooner or later it
takes precedence for the country. You
That is
good? Get
correct.
you some water, man. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right.
And so here's the thing. What the thing that Steve and I have been talking about is that, and I hear this quite a bit with us as hobbyists. It's kind of like, oh well, what can I do? There's nothing that I can absolutely do. There's nothing
There's a lot you can do.
that it doesn't matter what I think, because they're going to do this or that. Well, that's what they're hoping. That's what they're hoping that people continue to think that way and continue to go down that road. But just like there are those organizations that are there to try to pass all this legislation, there is representation for us, the hobbyists.
Mm-hmm.
There are organizations, associations that are created out there to try to protect the industry as a whole. And one of the things that I was telling Steve is it's so interesting because in reality, a lot of these ways to get involved or to try to make sure that what you have gets protected is really not that difficult or that expensive. I don't know how many of us are willing to do a membership for a YouTuber or whatever. Well, what you're investing in that's great, and that support is appreciated and all that. But why not take some of that money and put it into these associations that are going to protect your hobby in the long run? Because as we all know, at the end of the day, if you're gonna try to have a seat at that table, you need to have representation. And the only way you're going to get representation is through money. And that was the big thing here in Florida, is that this was, if I'm not mistaken, was like a $300 million hit to the economy of Florida. So there's a lot to be said to try to be a member of any. It doesn't matter what group you want to belong to, but it's important that why don't you put a little bit of that limited resources that you do have into a cause that's going to protect your hobby in the long run. What's up, man?
Ooh, I having a little rascals moment, man. I having a little rascal because I'm listening to you, boy. And ain't nothing you saying new to me. You my homie, bro. I love you. You know what I'm saying? We talk. So, but having a little rascals moment. I'm sitting up and listening to you, and in my head, I got the voice of Buckwheat and Spanky talking about, no, that's too soft. That's too soft. You too nice. That's why I was laughing, like how you said it, because everything you said is 1,000. I can't change anything. Or I don't need to add to it. What it is tyranny. Okay. This is America. Nobody, and I do mean nobody, has the right to say who can and can't do what, apart from the general consensus of us as a civic body in this country. Obviously, that's what the mutuality is for. As a consensus, we say, hey, this stuff in society ain't no place for it. Everything else, get it where you fit in, case by case basis. What this is, though, however, is a group of people who think that their way is the only way and they will use money, power, and influence to impose their way of thinking on everybody else. That's tyranny. So, like, when I was having my little rascal moment, the reason is because everything George said is true. YouTube memberships, but that's cool. I ain't knocking nobody hustle. You got Aquashella going on. You got all this stuff going on. I'm one of those people that's like, put your money where your mouth is. Because if we keep on doing like how we're doing, ain't going to be no flex in the flex. Now, me being the person I am, my channel is called Warrior Planet Tanks for a reason. I'm a nerd. I'm highly educated. And I'm dangerous. I'm never going to not have fish. Never. And you act accordingly with that information. I don't advocate anyone to do anything that's malicious or otherwise harmful. However, it's a fish. And it starts with fish and snakes. Then it's going to be dogs and cats. And pretty soon you ain't going to be able to eat meat. And it's tyranny. Is it ridiculous? Yes, it's ridiculous. Is it one of those things that kind of hard to conceptualize and take serious because, the likeliness of it happening, while plausible, since it's such a ridiculous idea, it's hard to conceptualize. Well, folks, how much shit can we say that about that's happened, especially in the last 15 years? Let's be a little bit more acute in the last 5. How much ridiculous stuff has taken place that was so ridiculous we couldn't even conceptualize it. But in the middle of the night, while everybody was asleep, these legislators passed these laws. The same way they took us off the dollar, they took us off the gold standard. Don't get me started. Every time some fuckery happens, excuse my French, but there's no other word for what this is called. I'm very articulate. But every time something like that happens, it's done in the middle of the night, under the cover of darkness, with the hush hush. And this is what I was alluding to when I said we're, as hobbyists, we're civically irresponsible. I wasn't being arrogant or braggadocious. I'm just articulate. I'm being impeccable with my words. I'm saying what I mean what I say. We are civically irresponsible when it comes to the hobby. And I mean, that's just a microcosm. Hell, as Americans, we're civically irresponsible. It's an entitlement type of thing. So there are us few, though, however, who stand out. And our lifestyles aren't necessarily dictated by what we see and what we're told. We do what the hell we want. We're libertarian. Everybody has the right to leave me the hell alone and mind their own business. And that's all of us that are against the grain, who don't want to conform. And I ain't trying to hurt nobody's feelings. We're not here for that. But we all know, and we all know them people that we talk about in the hobby that we don't want to be like. We don't want to tank like that. We not doing none of that stuff because we don't want to be losers. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. You like it, you love it, that's cool. But you know what I'm talking about. Like I said, I ain't trying to hurt nobody. Like, okay, so think about when we had our episode of managing your expectations, and we had the meme a social media tank versus what you got. That whole concept. So that just because that stigma exists, it shows that there is a passion in this hobby still to keep it pure and unadulterated, which is my point. So there's conservation organizations that are for the fish. It's about the angle of presentation, though, right?
So let me ask you this. I know that the biggest one that has been in the forefront of this fight is USR.
Right.
But there's got to be other ones. And how do you find them?
Google, but obviously there is a government informational website. Let me pull it up. Okay.
Yeah, because I was
And it's a
just curious to see
database
how.
of the conservation organizations. I got you. Hold up.
I was looking at it earlier today just to see how many animal conservation organizations there are out there, or at least recognized as as nonprofit or non what do they call it, non-government organizations, and there's about 48 of them that are worldwide, and that's not including some of the federal conservation organizations that are out there. So that is quite a big number of these organizations that are out there that are, and each one of them has their own mission statement, and some of them are focused on trying to conserve endangered species and stuff like that. They have no interest in the hobby. The problem is that you do have some out there that, like I said, that are a little bit more extreme in their philosophy as to when it comes to pets. That nobody, no animal should be a pet, and those are the ones that are a little bit more concerning. And oddly enough, they seem to be some of the bigger ones too, and they have a lot of influence, at least here in the United States. I don't know in other parts of the world, but they do have a pretty stronghold in the political system. Uh, my biggest thing is, or the biggest fear with these attempts is that like Steve said, they're not going to stop, and every time they're trying to figure out a way how they can kind of pull the wool on on, on the industry, how they can kind of go out and try to happen to have this go through without any resistance. So my whole thing on this is that it's important to belong to these types of associations that are willing to take the time to make sure that they don't pull these kind of stunts off, and that they start as soon as they find out that legislation that could affect the industry is out there. They're out there at the forefront, trying to let people know, trying to explain what's going on. I know there was a lot of stuff that was out there on this, and a lot of people were just trying to figure out what this whitelist and all this and that was going on. But at the end of the day, is more interesting understanding what the legislation is trying to accomplish more than anything else. What do you got up there, Steve?
Okay, so that's the this is the American Society of Ichthyologists and Herpetologists.
Okay.
Got fucking cotton mouth. But this is the start. I'm gonna put this up so y'all can see it. Can you see that pretty good or no?
Yeah, I can see it.
How's that?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So what this is it's dedicated to the scientific study of fish, amphibians, reptiles. Their next meeting's in Norfolk.
Okay.
I was a sailor. I used to live in Norfolk.
Okay.
So they got awards, learn about the society, find out how you can become a member. Click it. All right. There you go. Member benefits. Subscription to the e-journal, waivers, inclusions and stuff, perks, different categories. You got awards. And
okay, but how does this help you to become aware of what the legislation is happening and stuff like that? This is more to understand species, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I'm getting you here. So you got your different membership tiers.
Okay.
Right here. And
well, do the about. Let's see what's their mission
Here.
statement or what their
Here you go.
overview. Well, here the mission statement, I guess, because that usually does tell you what their
Right.
scientific study of fish. Yeah,
Okay.
well, yeah, I got that. The primary emphasis of society is to increase the knowledge about
Okay. So, John Treadwell Nichols establishes COPEA in 1913. All right. They
Okay.
created the ASIH to increase communication among the scientists and oversee editing of this publication. Okay. Now the society is the premier scientific organization dedicated to the study, etc. Okay. Here's the deal. If you're going to counter groups like those overzealous groups, we don't need to be talking about fun stuff. We need to be able to do this in a scholarly way because we're talking to bureaucrats who time is money. We don't have that much time in the first place. We need to be ready and we need to come right. So as us hobbyists going into organizations like this, joining organizations like this, there ain't nothing saying that I can't be a member of this society and then go to Aquashella and educate them. Get our voice unified. Get a bit of contingency amongst the ranks so that the hobby ain't so polarized. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, well, that's fine. And this is, like I said, to educate yourself on the different types of species. But at the end of the day,
they have power though because they're a group. You see what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah, but they're not involved in politics. That's really what it is. What it's boiling down to. Yeah, it seems to me like a lot of this information is very valuable as far as understanding species, environments, I guess even some conservation of those species.
I'm just picking something random. So this is it's information, but this is the same information that those groups presented to the politicians to get this whole thing going in the first place. The difference is they were there to do it and we weren't. Okay. That's what I'm saying. And so like joining, let's pull up USARK too. Like joining.
See, the only reason that I guess the biggest difference between those two, and I'm not saying that they don't, share information across patterns, but I think when you're dealing with legislation, you need to have people that are understanding what's being written and the policies that are being created. Basically, a lobby group, and I don't really. This group that you're talking about is more. I don't think they're interested in lobbying so much as it is to the well-being of animals and species. And it's a great resource to learn a lot of information from. But at the end of the day, are they the ones that are out there reading what legislation is coming out there that's going to affect the industry?
No, it's just one of the. I got a whole bunch of them wrote down. I'm just typing them in to show the people how to do it. If they
and that seems like they're an excellent resource when you're trying to learn about the different.
Here's the thing: there is no organization that exists that does what you're talking about. USARK is for the industry. It's an association of keepers.
But at the end of the day, the industry is the one that's going to be adversely affected by any of these legislations. So, I'm just look. There's what's good about what's going on with ARC is, like I said, they seem to be on the threshold of what's going on. At the very minimum, I would encourage people to go even subscribe to the YouTube channel because I found a lot of valuable information as far as to understand what it is that the FWC was actually trying to accomplish. Because I know a lot of people posted about it, but it was just the same. It was a copy and paste. It was whatever they had heard and just reiterated, and nothing was really. It was just a replay of what everything was out there. What I've gotten from them, and the little time that I've done that is, they take a little bit more time with trying to break down what the consequences are and why they're trying to do this and how they're trying to go about trying to accomplish these goals. And what I mean they is, in this case, was the Florida Wildlife Conservation Group. Unfortunately, they weren't very well prepared, which is fortunately for us as hobbyists and as the industry as a whole, because they didn't realize that a lot of the information that they were trying to create had already been identified, and there was already information on that. And they had what was really interesting about this whole thing is it goes to show how inefficient government is, because you had a state agency trying to implement something that the federal government has already dealt with and was trying to tell the state, you're going about this the wrong way. You are asking for an impossible task. That's the only reason why this kind of got, salvaged at the very end. Everybody seems to operate under the assumption that just because, there's different agencies, state or federal, that they all kind of share information. Look, if 9/11 didn't teach us that, then I don't know what you guys need to understand. These governments, even within what's going on. Oh, these governments, even within their own systems, don't talk to each other. What did you pull up?
So this is the Lazy Act amendments that just happened 3 days ago. All right. And as you were talking, it's perfect what you were saying, because it shows how vague this is written. It shows the ineffectiveness of government. Exactly what you just said. And I just want to highlight this. Look how vaguely this is written.
I hung highlighted because once you highlighted it made it hard to see.
Okay.
There you go. That's easier to read. There you go. Even easier.
All right. So look at this. So what they're doing, what they did is they basically went after the state lines. They regulated the state lines. So transportation, so basically intrastate commerce and Puerto Rico as well. So, but look how vague this is. Any species of wild mammal, bird, fish, including mollusk and crustacea, amphibians or reptiles, or the offspring of such as injurious to human beings, to the interest of agriculture, horticulture, forestry, or to the wildlife or the wildlife resources of the United States. 3 years, subsection, etc. All right.
Okay.
Extremely vague. And then,
well, not only vague, but it's more than anything else, it's encompassing anything. So at any given time, they could go and say, we have to do something about cats, because cats are a big problem, because there's a lot of feral cats. So, and the feral cats are feral because people unwillingly released them or whatever. So now we have an issue with that. Here's where their argument could come from, is saying they're killing all sorts of natural wildlife. You know, they're alpha predators, and they're eliminating these precious birds, and now they're about to be extinct because of cats. So
right, and then you have somebody that's smart like me that be like, bullshit, and then the information's there, but it's like what you said.
But it's not organization. Bullshit, Steve. That's not fucking bullshit. This is where you got to be real. This is how scary this is.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Nobody's there to counter them. Who? Okay. Nobody can counter them. Nobody has
Well,
that
yeah,
information.
that's why you have these organizations that are in charge of doing that. That's why you have US Art. You have I'm really sorry that I didn't go back and to see what other organizations are in there. Yes, of course they're representing the industry, the farming,
You was
because they're
sick
the
though,
ones that are the biggest money makers in this.
right?
But at the end of the day, it really does represent us because without them, we don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if they go, then if they can get rid of the big obstacle, we're nothing for the rest of these agencies.
Yeah,
Us is just like we're just a consequence. So
they
that's
the
what
only one low key that exists that I can think of.
and
They
that's
the
what I was
only one.
saying. Look, if for the cost of what you're already doing for a membership for XO and so or any other contributions that we're doing out there, why not take some of that money and put it in an organization like this that in the long run is gonna allow us to continue to have what we have. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Um, and that's what I'm trying to make sure that people understand that it's important that we do get involved. It doesn't mean that you have to go to all the meetings and you have to do all of that. If you can do that, great. Uh, but at the bare minimum, why not support an organization that's out there fighting for the rights to continue to have this hobby? That's my biggest thing. Because at any given point, the way that regulation is written, anything, any animal, anything, any plant, anything that's a living organism could be considered invasive and threatening.
Yeah. I'm
Given
about to
the right,
post it right now. I got the Q
given
and
the
A,
right circumstances. Yeah.
and it says what you just got through saying, like literally. I just posted the link. So
And the only reason why I sound
there's
so
the link,
skeptical
y'all.
like that is because I've been on the side of government. I used to work for the Bureau of Land Management,
Uh
and
huh.
I saw what these organizations were trying to do at the Imperial Sand Dune Recreation Area. They didn't like the fact that they had people that were out there recreating in the sand dunes, so
Mm-hmm.
they were trying to find anything possible to shut it down, just because they didn't care for that type
Well,
of
they're like
recreation.
riding 4 wheelers and stuff.
Yes,
Oh, and
yes,
they were like, oh, they're fucking up the ecosystem. We don't
yeah.
like it. Go
So
away.
what they
Tyranny.
ended up finding was this the milk veg weed or something like that. It was called.
Mm-hmm.
It was some plant that was growing out there, and it just so happened that because of
It would stick
where
to their clothes and
no. It wasn't even that the habitat was being destroyed is what they were trying to argue.
okay.
And but the thing here that that the conservation groups, really what it boiled down to is just they didn't like people riding off-road vehicles. That's all that
Hmm.
was. That's really what it boils down to, and that's how ridiculous. That's why I am so paranoid, I guess, about these organizations because that
I can
was
tell.
the Sierra Club, and it was the other one, the Green Party. What is it? The Green something. Those were the
Greenpeace.
two big. Yeah, the Green. Those were the two big organizations that were funding these regulations. They were trying to shut down all recreational sites.
Well,
Period. Period. They
the
didn't want
Sierra Club
nobody.
was the low key, like the Sierra Club is allies. And I think like what we doing right now, what we talking about is important because whoever is a member of the club is gonna bring their ideologies and their mentality to said club. So like apparently the people that was in the Sierra Club back in the day cared about fish and cared about the hobby because they the ones who started pushing that legislation to get the desert pupfish saved. And there was a couple. You know more because you from out that way, but there's a few that stuff was
Well, that's
about
what I'm
like
saying.
they fought off the mob in Vegas to save a minnow in a stock tank in some rancher's cow pasture. So that's what I'm saying. It's up to us though. The people make up the club or whatever group.
Yeah, no, and that's the only reason that what I was getting at is that if it wasn't for the counter uh, organizational groups that'll stand up and fight and try to represent you, because at the end of the day, you're going to need legal. Uh,
Yeah.
uh, you're going to have a legal representation. And that's what a lot of these associations. I know out here in the Imperial Sand Dunes, what ended up happening, they created the Imperial Sand Dune Recreational Association, something like that. And by a lot of these recreationalists becoming members of that association, they were actually able to put on a legal fight to counter sue these conservation groups. And now, because they were able to prove that a lot of this stuff was not necessarily scientifically based, the dunes are back. They're opened up again. Yeah, they did reach a compromise and they closed off sections of it. But in reality, it's a lot of they wanted to shut down the entire area for recreation. Period.
So it was emotional. It wasn't scientific.
It's always emotional. That's the thing that I'm trying to get people to understand. It's always about emotional. It's never about logic.
See, look, I'm glad you just said that word, logic. The logic would be then, we talk about the environment, and we can all agree that we want to protect the environment. We want to be nice to nature. Don't nobody want to destroy nature. We get that. Everybody agree on that for the most part. So the logic would say that as far as damage to the environment goes, the largest contributing culprit is not the individual, it's industry. And I did a political science project a couple weeks ago, and we had to petition the government. Basically, we had to do what me and you talking about doing right now for fish, but we had to do it for a non-related topic. Okay, the topic we chose was environmental racism. Okay, and we ran up a project, we did the thing, and our whole thing was to go do a research panel and prove that environmental racism exists, and then petition our said political representatives to elicit the desired change. So even though that was a mock project for an assignment, I learned a lot in doing the research for that project. And it ties into what we're doing here, to where they can go after the little guys, the fish people, the mom and pop farms in Florida, the guys running saltwater in Iowa some damn where on solar, whatever, But if they really cared about the ecosystem and the environment and these animals, well, why don't we talk about some of the stuff that's really going on in Florida? Like how they drained Lake Okeechobee for industry, like how they did X, Y, and Z, etc. And be able to tie that in, because the voice of the people is effective when you got everybody. The problem is everybody ain't a fish hobbyist. But if we can correlate it to where it benefits and affects everybody, which is what the people on the opposing side do, which is how they're able to get the success they have, we can counter it. So if I got somebody who understands that, no, bro, this zebra danio is fine. It's not competing with anything. At the end of the day, it's no different than a cattle egret. Then they'll be like, what do you mean? And then I can tell them, well, cattle egrets are not native to North America, and they didn't start seeing them in the southeastern United States until the 60s after Hurricane Carla, when some were blown off of West Africa and arrived in. And, oh, okay, I didn't know that. And like, do the cowbirds hurt anything? No? Okay. But being able to correlate the information and it not be emotional, it'd be logical, like what you said, and change the consensus through education, but not sensationalized nonsense. You see what I'm saying? And like, basically, you can't fight no war without bullets. Like I could have a firearm in there, but I have no ammunition for it. It's ineffective. I mean, I can use it as a club, I suppose. Or vice versa, I could have like 26 ammo cans loaded to the brim. But if I have no firearm to discharge that specific ammunition, it's a paperweight. I could throw a handful and it might buy me a few seconds to run. So that's what I'm getting at. I was visualizing that. That's just funny. do like a girl, like all the bullets in there. Hell no. But that's what I'm getting at though, bro. Like when the only people doing the studying, they weaponize for the enemy, bro. You feel me? They weaponize for the enemy. Like you work for the EPA, you the enemy, bro. I said it. I don't care. You're an enemy, bro. They 12. 12. If you don't know what 12 is, I don't know what to tell you. But they need there needs that consensus, like what you're saying, of logical, factual, somebody that can cut through the vagueness. And that's what I meant. I didn't mean to offend you when I said somebody to call bullshit. So basically, on the strength of someone saying that, I don't know, think of something innocuously ridiculous. I don't know. Something that we already have over here that's been here so long with a carp. There you go. A common carp. Now, that's like somebody saying that a common carp is wreaking ecological havoc on the ecosystem and all goldfish should be banned. Little do these people know that this is a Eurasian cyprinid that was brought here to America by European immigrants and Asian immigrants for a food fish and for its ornamental value. It's also native to the British Isles, the UK. It's not an American fish. We do, however, have buffalo. There are a lot of cyprinids that it did outcompete, but you don't hear anybody bitching about it, is my point. And what I'm saying is I am sick of people cherry picking the truth, all right, and formulating it to where it fits their agenda, like a dirty ass preacher shooting at their congregation from behind the pulpit. Like if we're going to do that, then let's go ahead and do it right. That's what I'm getting at. Like the semantics, potato, tomato, I don't care because it's irrelevant. We're educated. We're passionate about this. We talk about fish anyway. Your political affiliation, that's y'all business. But unless you've been living under a rock, we understand our civic responsibilities as citizens of America. Put them all together so we can continue to play in the water. It's real simple. I mean, all that other stuff is nonsense. At the end of the day, it's pointless. You need educated people with facts that can articulate to the people who are gonna, make the change.
Tommy wants to know.
Yeah, I saw that. Jesus don't want your money. He tripping. I knew Tommy was gonna jump on that when I said the dirty preacher, but it's the truth. People cherry pick. This is the time of cherry picking, bro. And it ain't just a hobby. You feel me? It's just life. I'm going to cherry pick the truth. I'm going to cherry pick it. And then boom. And then do like a 30-minute TikTok. And now all of a sudden, I'm like a baccalaureate fucking history professor and shit. I'm a Rhodes Scholar. Because I got some cool music in the background. I said some smart shit. Boy, if you don't get your ass out my face, all this money I done spent reading these damn books to get these letters behind my name. And that's what I'm saying. We're in the hobby, and it's one of those things where, hey, you know what I'm saying, to where it's like the educated people in the hobby don't necessarily do social media, and it's the stigma that if you on that level, air quotes, it ain't cool and ain't good for views and stuff. But you know what I'm saying? If I got like a bunch of cool stuff to see. That's what people want to see. So like the stigma is you got to be one or the other. And I'm here to say, no, that's BS.
No.
You should be both, like
Well,
low key, or you can't.
You don't have to be anything. I
Right.
mean, here's the thing. People always seek whatever it is that they want. If you put the information out there and you do what, you're just sharing that information, people will even find it that are interested in it. Granted, yeah, look, here's the reality though. A lot of those people that have that knowledge, the last thing they really care about is, how many views or likes or anything they have.
Right.
I think it's important that they're able to put that information out there so that people like you and I, who are trying to educate ourselves more, have access to that information. So that's why I always say, I always encourage people to share whatever it might be insignificant to them, the knowledge that they possess, but you don't know what it could mean to somebody else. That's the only reason.
Keep doing that. You be reading my mind and saying what I be thinking, like as I'm literally
Well, the
thinking.
problem, Steve, is that you like to use a lot of words to say what you want to say, and you fucking lose us.
Ain't no. Like what I'm saying is the nuances of it.
Yeah.
Let me clear something up. Like I'm talking about science and ichthyologists and all that. That's all great. Fantastic. But the nuances of it that us hobbyists bring to it.
Yeah.
Because an ichthyologist, he is a disciplined person. It's research and shit.
I'm trying to remember who it was that I heard, and I want to think it was Dr. Anthony that was talking about this exactly.
It was. Like, we're hobbyists. We understand the nuances of it differently. Like, a researcher is just research. Literally.
That's here's what I took away from what he was saying. He was saying that the problem with doctorates in biology or whatever, they're more focused on a single particular aspect of the behavior of whatever it is they're studying.
Right.
And in this case, we're talking about fish, right? They're trying to figure out how to get these fish to breed or whatever. But that is their only focus. They're not taking into consideration as what we hobbyists do. And that's what he was pointing out, why hobbyists are so important to the whole system.
Right.
Because as a hobbyist, you're not only worried about trying to breed these fish, you're trying to figure out what conditions are the best and the most appropriate to get these fish to do what it is you want them to do. Mm-hmm. And we start looking at things like temperatures, food, time of the year, time of the day. A lot more information is gathered as a hobbyist and understanding a species of fish, whereas they're probably shooting through one very specific behavior that they're trying to understand. We are learning the entire I guess system of this fish, as to where they're coming from, how they're adapting to the new environment, and to finally being able to get them to do what we want them to do. And even better, if you can figure out how to get them to do it on command. Because ultimately, as a breeder, that's really what you're trying to accomplish. As a breeder, you're trying to figure out how to get these fish to pretty much breed on command. And but as a doctor, as a scientist, they don't have the luxury of time, because they're all driven by outcome that's gonna continue to fund whatever it is they're doing. And I always thought that was so fascinating, because I was under the assumption that because as a scientist, a man of science, they were taking into consideration all those factors, and that's not the case. And I thought that was so cool that he was able to bring light to that in my aspect, because I had no idea that was the situation, that was happening. And so that's why I continue to encourage people. If you're doing this, and if you're a hobbyist, and you want to share your experiences, please do, because fortunately for us, we have YouTube that will archive all this information, and you never know. It's basically the new encyclopedia. It's, where you used to have to go to a book and try this information. Now you can just go to the search engine on this platform, type in a couple of keywords as to what you're looking for, and the resources at your hand are obviously, some of them are going to be driven by algorithms, but ultimately you're going to find the information that you're trying to find if you continue to dig and again, discern from information that is not what you're looking for, or what it is you're actually trying to do. Let's see. Tommy says has a comment here. Let me put this up here. Yeah, for sure. We need people like Chewy from Lunatic French, Greg Sage, people that like that. Excuse me, in the industry, in a massive amount of work, and that is so true. Kenny from ABC Aquatics, yes. You see, and because of people like this, hobbyists like this, we learn so much about uh, these fish that they're not even being studied, because the only fish that get studied or get looked at is because there's some monetary value at the outcome of that information that they're trying to retrieve. So, but yeah, that's just pretty much what I was saying about that. It's important. It doesn't matter how inconsequential you think your findings or your experiences are, make a video about it and just put it out there. You never know who's going to stumble across that information and find it useful.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I have to say. How about you, buddy?
I'm good, man.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Is there anything else that we want to add to this whole? I know we were talking at further lengths as to doing some other stuff, but because it was all kind of like last minute, we decided to probably tie it up neater in a bow for another presentation. But I think as far as what we were trying to accomplish today,
I'm good. I feel like how I'm on the boat, man. Ain't shit to talk about. Let's get to work. Ain't nothing else to talk about. We'll see who is who of what by what's done as life unfolds. Ain't nothing else to talk about.
Yeah, and for those, I know right now, I knew we weren't going to get that many eyes on us today because there's so much going on, especially with Aquashella happening.
Right.
You get a lot of people that'll be streaming that or be watching that. But if you catch the replay, thank you for watching that. And at the end of the day, the only thing I'm saying is that it does matter. It does matter what we think and what we do, and that the best way to get represented, like I said, is to join an organization that is willing to fight for your rights. That's it. And with that said, I don't have anything else to add. I want to thank you guys for being here. Steve, do you have anything to say in closing?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys later. Thank you guys for being here.
Peace.